Welcome all. This is a lecture on hazards in digital circuits. So, hazards are basically unwanted glitches that occur in digital circuits, primarily due to the finite propagation delay of the gates. So, before getting into and understanding the hazards, the type of the hazards, and how it arises, how we can design a circuit to avoid hazards, we should have a very clear understanding of the propagation delay and its effect on digital circuits, and the timing diagram, which clearly shows the uh, the change in different signals in a digital circuits with respect to time. Okay, so what is a propagation delay? If the change in the output of a gate is delayed by a certain time, say epsilon, with respect to a change in the input, we then say that the gate has a propagation delay of epsilon. Just look at the NOT gate that is shown here. The input to the NOT gate is the Boolean variable x, and its output we designate it as x complement. So, when x is 0, x complement is 1, and when x changes to a new value from 0 to 1, x complement should change from 1 to 0. Logically, the change in x complement should occur at the same time x changes if the gate is ideal, that is, there is no propagation delay. But if there is a finite propagation delay, the change in x complement will take place little later than a change in x, and that is the effect the propagation delay introduces. This can be seen using a simple timing diagram as shown here. So, here we have the waveform depicting the value taken by the Boolean variable x. Let us assume that x has been 0 for a while and it changes to 1 and it remains in 1 for some duration and then comes back or returns to the previous value 0. So, is here x is plotted against time. So, if you look at the waveform of x complement, when x is 0, x complement is 1, and when x changes to 1, x complement changes to 0, and when x comes back to 0, x complement becomes 1. But here you will notice that because of the finite propagation delay, the change in x from 0 to 1, if it takes place at this time shown by means of this dotted line, the change in x complement will take place at a time which is slightly greater than this time. So, the corresponding propagation delay is what results in the change in x complement to take place at a little time later. So, this propagation time we can, let's call it as epsilon 1. Similarly, when x changes from 1 to 0, x complement takes a little while to change from 0 to 1, and that propagation delay, let's call it as epsilon 2. In general, we may assume that both epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 to be the same, because a gate has the same propagation delay for both the positive transition and negative transition, but in general it can also have variable delay. So, henceforth let us assume that the gate has the same delay for both kinds of transitions. So, this shows how a propagation delay of a single gate shows its effect. Let us move on to a little larger circuit. So, here we introduce the timing diagram of a circuit, and which depicts how different signals in a circuit change due to the propagation delay of different gates that are present in the circuit. Okay. Let us assume that we have got two kinds of gates, the AND gate and the NOR gate, both having the same propagation delay of 20 nanoseconds. So, here is the circuit. We have the variables A, B, C controlling this circuit. Okay, so A is here and B is this variable. Let us assume that B is permanently kept at 1 and it is not changed throughout this experiment. Similarly, C is permanently tied to 0 and it is not going to change throughout this experimentation. Only A is the one which is going to change. Let us look at how the effect of a change in A, the value of A, propagates to the intermediate value G1 and later to the final value G2. Okay. Before proceeding into the timing diagram, you might easily will be able to guess why we have chosen this value 1 for B and 0 for C. You could see that in an AND gate, if one of the input is 1, it lets the other variable to decide the value of the output of the AND gate. Similarly, if one of the input to an OR gate or an OR gate is 0, it lets the other input to decide the output of the OR or NOR gate. That is why B is fixed at 1 and C is kept as 0. Because of that, a change in A will ripple and have a change in G1 and later a change in G2. So let's look at how this change propagates. Let us assume that A is kept at a value of 0, okay, and all variables G1 and G2 settle to their respective value during this time. So you would see that A is 0, B is 1, so G1 is 0, so G1 has been 0, and G1 is 0, C is 0. Because of that, you would see that there will be a 0 before the bubble and a 1 after the bubble, which means G2 will be 1. So this is shown here, G2 being 1. Okay. So now at t is equal to 40 nanosecond, A changes its value from 0 to 1. So when A becomes 1, B already being 1 will make G1 to be 1. G1 to become 1, but the change in the value of G1 will be delayed by the propagation delay of the AND gate. So it happens after 20 nanoseconds. So G1 changes from 0 to 1 only at t is equal to 60, while A has changed at t is equal to 40. Now G1 has become 1, C is 0. So 1 or 0, you will have a 1 before the bubble and a 0 after the bubble, will mean that G2 will change to 0 from 1. But that effect will be further be delayed by 20 nanosecond more. So after G1 changing at 60 nanoseconds, G2 will change only at 80 nanoseconds. So G2 changes to 0 after at 80 nanoseconds. When A comes back to 0, that makes G1 to also come back to 0 with a delay of 20 nanosecond, and this effect again propagates to G2, and again G2 goes back to 1 further with a delay of 20 nanosecond. So it changes to 1 at 140 nanoseconds. You would see that there is a pulse width of 60 nanoseconds from 140 to 100. At A, that is also shown as a pulse in G1 as well as G2. The width of the pulse is same, but the time at which it occurs, that is decided by the propagation delay from the point at which the initial change occurs down the point at which that change we are measuring, here at G1 and here at G2. Okay. Now we will see what effect there will be if you have a circuit in which there is a delay element being present. Okay, it can be simply a buffer which actually buffers the signals and then amplifies it and outputs. It's simply a delay element. It doesn't logically change the value, but just introduces a delay. Let us assume that there is a delay element which introduces 1 microsecond delay along a path. So here you have got an AND gate. One of the input to the AND gate is the variable x, while the other element is the variable y. Y is the same as x, but y changes after 1 microsecond delay when after any change in x. So z is an AND of x and y. Supposing x has been at a given value for quite long time, then y would have also settled to the same value. So basically x and y is same as x and x, and z will take the value of x. Okay. So here let's see how this shows up in the timing diagram. So here is the value of x, y and z being plotted against time. The unit of time is 1 microsecond. So x has been initially 0 and it becomes 1, okay, at t is equal to 1, and for about 2 microsecond it remains in 1 and then comes back to 0. So you would see that y, which is the same as x, okay, but delayed by 1 microsecond, the change in the value of x is reflected in the change in the value of y, but with the delay of 1 microsecond. So y continues to remain at the value of 0 up to the time t is equal to 2 and then changes to 1. And you can notice here that even though x has come back to 0 at t is equal to 3, y will come back to 0 only at t is equal to 4. So the pulse width at y is the same as the pulse width at x, but y is delayed. The pulse at y is delayed with respect to x by a propagation delay of 1 microsecond. So look at z. So if you look at this point, so here both x and between 0 and 1, both x as well as y has been 0. So z is 0. And if you look at this point, okay, x is 1 but y remains at 0, so z is 0. So at this point x becomes 1, y also has become 1, so both are 1, so z will become 1. Okay, so this is the time at which both x and y are 1, z also becomes 1, but there is a small propagation delay, say epsilon, of this AND gate. So the change in z takes place with small propagation delay of epsilon, and this condition of both of x and y having the same value 1 lasts only for a duration of 1 microsecond. So the pulse width at z is just 1 microsecond, and here also there is a propagation delay of epsilon before z taking a value going back to the value 0. So here if you look at x has got a larger pulse width of 3 microsecond. If you look at the value of z, look at the waveform of y, it will also be a pulse of width 3 microsecond but delayed by 1 microsecond with respect to the value of x. So there is an overlapping duration of 2 microsecond for which both x and y are 1, and that is when z will be 1, and that is what is being shown here. Okay, so this is the propagation delay of the AND gate. So now you should be having a fair amount of idea of what this propagation delay of the gate will have in a practical circuit. So far we have been looking at the Boolean functions and a circuit only from the logical point of view, and then given certain values, say in a combinational circuits, given the values of the input variables, you can find the value of the output variables, just by going through the gates and finding the value of the output logically. So if so far we have not bothered about the propagation delay in an ideal circuit. Now if you look at a case of real circuit where there are finite propagation delay, some unwanted changes may happen, which is not what one would expect logically. So these causes what are called as hazards. So hazards in combinational logic is what we are going to look at. So these are unwanted switching transients, or simply called as glitches, that may appear in the output. This occurs primarily because of different paths that affect the output, and each path may have different propagation delay. Okay, so there is a differential propagation delay between the input and the output, and this causes hazards. Basically, there are two kinds of hazards. Hazards can be classified as either static hazards or dynamic hazards. First, we will look at static hazards. Again, within the category of static hazards, there are two kinds of hazard. One is the static 1 hazard and another is the static 0 hazard. Simply put, a static 1 hazard is the one in which an output of a circuit is supposed to remain at 1, but because of a change in input, it momentarily goes to 0 and comes back to 1. In other words, irrespective of the change in input, logically an output should remain at 1. But because of hazard, instead of remaining at 1, it momentarily goes to 0 and comes back to 1. That is what is called as the static 1 hazard. So there is another way of putting it, which is given in this slide. Let me read it out. A static 1 hazard, if in response to any single input change and for some combination of the propagation delays, a circuit's output may momentarily go to 0 when it should remain at constant 1, we say that the circuit has a static 1 hazard. Then we will look at the static 0 hazard. So here logically the output variable should remain at a value 0, but because of a change in the input value, if momentarily it takes a value 1 and comes back to 0, then we say that a static 0 hazard exists. Again, reading the definition as given in this slide, if in response to any single input change and for some combination of the propagation delay, a circuit's output may momentarily go to 1 when it should remain a constant 0, we say that the circuit has a static 0 hazard. To illustrate this static 1 and 0 hazard in a very simple circuit, I would urge that you take a paper and pencil and draw the simple circuit that I am going to tell you, okay, and then try out whether this condition of static 1 hazard and 0 hazard occurs. At this point, we may want to pause this video for a while and take your paper and pencil and be ready. Okay. So what you have to do is assume that you have an OR gate. One of the input to the OR gate is X and another input is X bar. That X bar is derived from X through a NOT gate, and the NOT gate has a propagation delay of, let us say, 5 nanosecond, and the propagation delay of the OR gate can be ignored or it can be kept at some value also. Now, so is it clear? The circuit is an OR gate. One of the input is X and another input is X bar derived from X through a NOT gate. Supposing, so this is nothing but in a steady state condition, it is nothing but X or X bar. So logically the value should be 1. Even if X changes from 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, ideally the output of this combination should remain at 1. But let us say when x has been 1, so and therefore x bar will be 0, 1 or 0 will be 1. So x has been 1 for some time, the output has been 1. Now let us assume that x changes to 0. As the x changes to 0, it's x being connected to one of the input, immediately that input will change to 0, whereas the other input being x bar, okay, will change to 1 with a slight propagation delay of the NOT gate, and therefore x bar, which has been 0, will continue to be in 0 for some duration before changing to 1. It is during this duration both the inputs of this OR gate are 0. As a result, the output will go to 0 and then come back to 1. So this is what we call as the static 1 hazard. Similarly, you draw another circuit in which you have got an AND gate. One of the input to the AND gate is a variable x, while the other input is the variable x complement. X complement is obtained from x through a NOT gate. Okay, and you would see that the output of the AND gate logically should be x and x complement, so it should be 0. So logically it should take the value 0 irrespective of the input variable x taking any value 0 or 1. But let us assume that x has been 0. So you would see that the output would be 0. Now if x changes to 1, that change in 1 will be immediately reflected in one of its input, while the other input, which is obtained through the NOT gate, will change to 0 little later. So for a brief period, so both the inputs will be 1, and as a result 1 and 1, the output will become 1 for a small duration before coming back to 0. So you would see that the output which is supposed to be at 0 momentarily goes to 1. This is what the one which causes the static 0 hazard. Then we will look at the dynamic hazard. A dynamic hazard is a one which can occur as follows. This occurs when the output variable is supposed to change as a result of a change in the input variable. Okay, so the output variable is supposed to change logically from a value 0 to 1 or from a value 1 to 0. Well, if the circuit works ideally, the output variable will change in one go. That is, it will change from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 at a given time. But if there is a dynamic hazard that is present, then the change will not take place immediately, but there will be an oscillation in the output before it settles down to its final value. Let us look at the two kinds of the dynamic hazard. A 0 to 1 hazard that is shown in this place, and a 1 to 0 hazard which is shown here. So the output changes from 0 to 1, and if there is a dynamic hazard, the output changes from 0 to 1, then it goes to 0 and comes back to 1 and then remains in 1. So this glitch, okay, is the one which is caused by the dynamic hazard. Similarly, a 1 to 0 transition, which is what you infer logically, does not take place in one go. What happens is the output changes from 1 to 0, then goes back to 1 and comes back to 0 before settling down. So again there is a glitch here. That is the result of the dynamic hazard. Here 0 changes to 1, back to 0, back to 1. This effect may happen many times. For example, a 0 to 1 hazard, dynamic hazard, can work as follows. It may go from 0 to 1, 1 to 0, 0 to 1, again 1 to 0, and then back to 1 before settling down. Or it may have this kind of a glitch twice or thrice and so on. So we can see that if a 0 to 1 transition, okay, if there is an odd number of transition taking place before it settles down, then this dynamic hazard can occur. Okay, so in this lecture we will concentrate mainly on the static hazards, but we will also see that the effort that we take in avoiding the static hazards will also remove the dynamic hazards. Well, now we saw that hazards occur when certain input variable changes and under certain condition that happens in the circuit due to the differential propagation delay between the input and output. Now if many input changes at the same time at different time points, it may be very difficult to keep track of the change in the input and the intermediate values and its effect on the output. So because of that, the analysis will be very complex. So because of this reason, we will only consider a case which is easier to understand. So that is a case in which we operate the circuit in what is called as the fundamental mode of operation. In this mode, we assume that at a given time, if the inputs are all fixed at certain values, the output variables settle down to their final or stationary values. Then we let only one variable to change and we wait such that all the transients die out and the output variable settles to their final value before changing another input. So which means that at any given time we let only one variable to change, and before changing any other input variable we wait till that effect settles down. So this mode of operation where only one variable can change and effect of other variables, change in other variables are allowed only after the transients die out, is called as the fundamental mode of operation. Henceforth we will only deal with the fundamental mode of operation of the circuit. Let us look at this case. Okay, we will see how a static one hazards arise in a circuit. Okay, so here you are given a circuit. Okay, it has the input variables A, B and C, two AND gates, one NOT gate and an OR gate. Okay, so this NOT gate produces B bar or B complement out of B. So this AND gate is an AND of A, B bar, and this AND gate ANDs B and C, and that is E, and here you have F. So if you write down the logic expression for F, it is nothing but D or E. D is AB bar and E is BC. So F is AB bar or BC. Okay, so this is the expression for F. Let us assume that the value of A and C are fixed at 1 and we only let B to change in the fundamental mode of operation. Okay, so we can calculate easily the value of F with the condition A equal to C equal to 1. We can see that A equal to 1, C equal to 1, so it is nothing but B bar or B, which means it is F has to be 1 logically. Okay, so F should remain at 1 logically. But let us see what happens in this circuit where there is a finite propagation delay of 10 nanosecond for each gate. Okay, so let us say B has been 1, okay, and at this point B changes to 0. At 20 nanosecond B changes to 0. So this is where B bar waveform is. When B is 1, B bar has been 0, and B bar, when B changes to 0, B bar will change from 1 to 0, but that effect has a delay of 20 nanosecond. So therefore, 10 nanosecond. So B bar changes from 1 to 0 only at 30 nanosecond. Okay. So let's look at the effect of D. Okay. So B becomes 0, A is 1. So okay. So sorry. B goes to 0. Okay. B goes to 0. So B bar goes to 1. So AB bar will be 1. So D becomes 1. But that effect of D changing to 1 is delayed with respect to a change in B bar by 10 nanosecond. So this is the point. 40 nanosecond is the point at which D changes to 1. Let us look at the change in the value of E. As soon as B changes from 1 to 0, okay, E will change but with a delay of just 10 nanosecond. So after the B changing to 0, E, okay, will change from 1 to 0, okay, at this point, which is 30 nanosecond. Okay. So if you look at the value of F, this duration of between 30 and 40 nanosecond is the duration at which D is 0 as well as E is 0. Because of that, F will be 0 for this duration 30 and 40 in between, supposed to be for 30 and 40, but that is also delayed because of this OR gate generating F by 10 nanosecond. So that delayed effect will show between 40 and 50 nanosecond at F. So we would see that F, okay, it's supposed to remain at 1, but momentarily goes to 0 and comes back to 1. Okay. So this is the one which causes the static 1 hazard. Well, how do we detect static 1 hazard? Okay. By drawing the waveform and looking at the timing diagram, one can figure out this, but that is little tedious. Can we look at the possibility of the static 1 hazard by analyzing the circuit? And that is what we are going to learn now. Let us look at the Karnaugh map that shows the different entries, okay, of the function F. Okay. So here you have to have a K map, okay, wherein it should not only capture the value that F takes under different input combination, it should also in some sense reflect the circuit which generates F. Those terms which generate F should also be indicated here by means of the square. So here there is a term D which is nothing but AB bar which generates F. So we should have a term, we call each one of this as a one term because these terms make F equal to 1. So the term AB bar, okay, is shown here. So A equal to 1, B equal to 0. So this is AB bar. And what is the other term that makes F equal to 1? That is E. What is E? E is nothing but BC. So this term, the condition is BC, also is a one term. These are the two terms which makes F equal to 1. Okay. Now, what does this K map entries 0s and 1 mean? So, the input variables A, B, C can take certain values 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0 or whatever it is. According to the value taken by the input variables, we will fall in one of these 8 squares. For example, if A, B, C are 0, 0, 0, we will fall in this square. If it is 1, 1, 1, we will fall in this square and so on. So, each of the input condition corresponds to one of these squares. when only one variable changes in a fundamental mode of operation, then we jump from one of the square to the adjacent square that corresponds to the change that has taken place. For example, if you here look at when B and C are both tied to 0, when A changes from 0 to 1, we jump from this square to this square. And you would see that F has been taking a value 0 here or 1 here. So F should change its value from 0 to 1. Logically, this is what we conclude. Now, you look at this two one terms that produce F. So, if F, let us assume a case where B and C, okay, A equal to 1 and then C equal to 1 and B is also equal to 1, that is this term. All three variables are 1, 1, 1, this case. Now, if B changes from 1 to 0, then we jump from this square to this square. Now, while you are in this square, it is this term BC which has been contributing to the function F. BC is the term which is making F to be equal to 1. See, when you are in these two input condition, it is BC which is 1. The other, this one, okay, what is that? AB bar will be 0. That will not be contributing a 1 to F. It is this one term which will be contributing a 1 to F. But when we jump here, the contribution will be given by this term, while this term BC will become 0 for this input combination. So, when we have a switch from this term to this square to this square, as a result of the change in the variable B, the term which contributes to F switches from BC to this term. So, this change may not take place at precisely the same time point. Okay. So, this change may be delayed. One of the changes may be delayed. As a result of that, okay, while the value of F may not remain at 1 at the same time. For example, if you are here, BC has been contributing to the value of F to be 1, okay, and when you jump here, let us say BC has become 0, but this term which is A B bar, okay, if that has not become 1 yet, then momentarily there will be a 0 in F. So, whereas if you look at a change in the value of an input term corresponding to a switch between two ones within the same square, this problem will not arise. That is, if B is equal to 1, C is equal to 1, if A changes from 1 to 0 or 0 to 1, then it is the same term BC which will be contributing a 1 to F, and BC will remain at will have the same value, and therefore F will not have any glitch. But whenever we switch one term which contributes to F, then there is a possibility of an hazard. In other words, if we have two ones which are adjacent in the K map, and if they are not covered by the same square, then that is in this case, then there is a possibility of a 1 hazard. So this only tells there is a possibility of 1 hazard, but it may or may not occur. That depends upon the precise propagation delay of different gates. So we are only deducting a possibility of a 1 hazard that will occur whenever there are two ones in the K map of the output variable which aren't covered by the same one term. So if you look at these two ones, they are, see, why are we concentrating on adjacent one term squares? Because we are operating in the fundamental mode of operation, where due to a change in the fundamental mode of operation, we will jump only between adjacent squares. So these two ones are covered by the same one term, so there won't be any hazard. These two ones are covered by the same one term, no hazard. Okay, and we cannot jump from this square to this square or this square, because in fundamental mode that cannot happen. But these two ones are adjacent, so change in a single variable can lead to a switch from this term to this term, and they aren't covered by a given term, so an hazard is possible. So this is what leads to an hazard. So we can summarize as follows. So if we can summarize the procedure for detecting an hazard. So write down the SOP expression of the circuit, plot each term on the map and loop it. That is, the one terms has to be found out according to the circuits that generates it. If any two adjacent ones are not covered by the same loop, a one hazard exists for a transition between these two one squares. Okay, so for an n variable map, this transition occurs when one variable changes, the other n minus 1 variables are held constant. That is in the fundamental mode of operation. Now let us look at the case, okay, of how this hazard can be eliminated. So we see that whenever these two one squares are adjacent, which are not covered by a single term, and that is what causes the hazard. Suppose we have a one term that corresponds to the coverage of these two one squares, then hazard would be eliminated. So we should modify the circuit so that such a one term is present. Okay, so what is this term? This term is the one where A is equal to 1 and C is equal to 1. So it is the term AC. So we have to produce the term AC and introduce it to produce the F. So if you do that one, we will see that logically the value of the variable F is not altered, because what you are doing in the K-map is that you are adding a redundant coverage. Normally, when you derive the reduced form of a K-map, we will not include redundant coverages, but that may introduce hazards. To avoid hazards, we now recommend that some redundant coverages need to be included, and therefore this modification of the circuit is being done. So if you look at this one, what we do, we write F is equal to now AB bar plus BC and AC. So this is what F is. Okay, you can see that if you recall your Boolean theorems, okay, you would see that this term AC is a consensus term, and it is a redundant term, because if you have AB bar plus BC, okay, you have one variable B appearing in the normal form in one term and complemented form in another term, and the remaining variables are being ANDed to produce the third term, then this term, okay, is redundant, and this is what the consensus theorem tells us. Okay, if you apply that theorem, you would actually eliminate this one and go back to the original value of F. Now basically what this tells us is hazards in many times can be removed by introducing the consensus term. So now we will look at the zero hazards. Okay, so here you have a circuit with several zero hazards. Okay, let us look at the circuit, which is a circuit and the corresponding expression. So here is the circuit. So you have if you look at this OR gate, this is nothing but A or C, and this OR gate produces A complement or D complement, that is this term, and the third OR gate produces B complement or C complement or D, that is this term. So it is A or C and A bar or D bar or and B bar or C bar or D. So this is the logic expression for this circuit. Okay. So if you draw the K map for the output Z, okay, so this is what you would get. So here it is not, you have to just fill the zeros, okay, according to this one, but you should also correctly mark the coverages, those zero terms. Your zero term is a 1. Whenever you have an input combination corresponding to a square falling within that zero term, the function will be 0. That is what is a zero term. So this is a zero term because any input combination corresponding to these 4 squares will reset the output variable to take the value 0. Okay. Similarly, this is another zero term, this is another zero term. We can easily see how it occurs. See, you look at this one, this is where A is 0, B has been changing, A is 0, here C is 0, D has been changing. So A is 0, C is 0, so the corresponding max term is A or C. So this is the A or C term. So look at this one, here D is 1 and A is 1. So this is nothing but A bar or D bar term. And look at this 2 0 square. So this is where, so A changes, it goes away, B is equal to 1, so it is B bar, and C is 1, so it is C bar, D is 0, so there is a D. So it is B bar or C bar or D. Okay, so we have plotted the zero terms. Now if you, again the same logic works, whenever we fall within one of these squares corresponding to a 0, F is 0. Whenever we fall in one of these squares, F will be 1. And when we switch during a fundamental mode of operation, within these 0 squares, logically F should remain at 0. So these kind of changes means F will continue to remain at 0. But if you look at a change corresponding to this one, where there are 2 adjacent zeros, but they are not covered by a single 0 term, then the contribution to F, making F to be 0, changes from one term to another term. Okay, from one term to another term it switches. So this switching may not take place at the precise time. Because of that, momentarily there can be a 1. When logically the function should remain at 0, it momentarily goes to 1 and comes back to 0. So there is a 0 hazard. Similarly, you have to look for adjacent zeros which aren't covered by the same 0 term. So you see that these two, so these two will not have any problem. These two will not have any problem. So look at this and this are all, they are not adjacent terms at all, adjacent zeros. So these two are adjacent zeros which aren't covered by the same term. They can cause a static 0 hazard. Similarly, this 0 and this 0 can cause a static 0 hazard. So there are 3 static 0 hazards. Okay. So you can also look at the 0 hazard either using a timing waveform or just by looking at this circuit and by tracing out the time at which the signals will change. Let us assume that the gate delay of 3 nanosecond for these NOT gates and 5 nanosecond for the AND gate and the OR gate. Okay, so this is the variable C, A, D, B. This C is complemented and that we call it as X. The variable W is nothing but AC, okay, and this is Y, and so on. Let us assume that C, okay, changes at 5 nanosecond from 0 to 1. Okay, so you would see that this change in 0 to 1, okay, A has been 0, B has been tied to 1, D has been tied to 0. These remain constant, C alone changes. So you would say A is 0, so the change in C from 0 to 1 will make W to become 1. But there is a delay of 5 nanosecond here. So from the C changes at 5 nanosecond, W will change at 10 nanosecond. Okay. Similarly, if you look at that, C changes, and as a result X changes from 1 to 0 and delayed by 3 nanosecond from the time C changes. That is 5 plus 3, 8 nanoseconds. And Y will also change as a result, and that change will happen 5 nanosecond after X changes, that is 8 plus 5, 30 nanosecond. So this is where it will occur. Okay. So similarly, you can trace out that the value of Z will also, as a result of it, will change. Okay. So this change from 0 to 1 and 1 to 0. Okay. So for a duration of 3 nanoseconds, okay, between 10 and 13, okay, W, there has been, at least this has been, while this has become 1, okay, this continues to remain at 1. Okay. So assuming that this will be 1, so we will see that this Z will become 1, okay, for about 3 nanosecond. But again, there is a delay of 5 nanosecond between 15 to 80 nanosecond. Okay, there will be a 1, causing the 1 hazard. So how do we figure it out using the K-map? Let us assume that there is a input change, C changes while others remain constant. A is 0, B is 1, D is 0 means, if you look at this one, this is where the corresponding input combination is 0, 1, 0, 0. C has been 0 in this one. And if C changes to 1, others remaining constant, the input combination will be 0, 1, 1, 0. So we will switch from this square to this 0 square to this 0 square. And they are two adjacent zeros which aren't covered by the same 0 term. So there is a possibility of the static 0 hazard. So to avoid that, we should cover them. So this is also being shown here using this timing diagram. Okay, same thing. Find the effect between 15 and 80 nanosecond. Z becomes 1 is being shown here. So C becomes changes at 5 nanosecond. The effect on W takes place at 10 nanosecond. Okay, whereas Y effect changes little later, only at 30 nanosecond. So between this duration, okay, W as well as Y is 1. Whereas the intermediate term, you would see that there are intermediate terms T, W is A plus C, T is A complement, R D complement, X is C cap, and so on. Okay, so there is a 1 that happens here. Okay, so that shows as the 1 hazard, momentarily Z going to 1, again with a small delay, propagation delay. Okay. Like this. Well, now, okay, how do we avoid this one? So we should introduce redundant coverages so that this condition for 0 hazard do not occur. That is, there should be no adjacent 0 squares which are not covered by the same 0 square. So these two zeros are adjacent, which were not originally covered by a 0 square. So you cover it by means of either this term or better a larger term, because this term means you will have only a 2 input gate instead of just having this term. Okay, so this will remove this 0 hazard. These two also lead to an hazard that can be removed by means of this square. These two can be removed by introducing this and this square. So accordingly, we introduce certain terms. So we will see that what is this square? This square is nothing but where AB changes in all possible manners. C is 0, D is 1. So it is C or D complement. C or D complement. This is the term corresponding to this one. Similarly, if you look at this one, this is where it is A, B. A bar plus B bar plus C bar. This is the last term. So like that, redundant terms are being introduced. Okay. So the procedure for removing an 1 hazard and 0 hazard can be given as follows. Okay. Suppose you have got a circuit, you want to detect the 1 hazard or 0 hazard and to remove it by adding some extra changes in the circuit. This is how we have to proceed. Okay. Find the SOP expression called FT. I will talk about this term FT, which is called as the transient F little later. So write the SOP expression for the output and map it into the K-map. So in which every pair of adjacent ones, you have to map it and cover it in such a manner that every pair of adjacent ones is covered by a one term. Having done that one, if we have a two-level AND OR circuit based on this coverages, then it will be free from static 1 hazard, 0 hazard, as well as dynamic hazards. So this is what it can be done. So by using the SOP expressions where this condition is obeyed, okay, there exists no two adjacent one terms which are not covered by one term. If that condition is obeyed, then there is no hazards that will occur. Or if you want it in a different way, if a different form of circuit is desired, manipulate this F to an POS form. But that you have to do it by simply factoring or using De Morgan's law or using only certain theorems. We will again see what those conditions are. So, but when you map, you should treat the variable x and any term, any variable xi and its complement, xi complement as independent variables. You should not assume that xi and xi complement will always be a complement, will take different values all the time. Okay. So, in this manner, if you change it and write the K-map and cover the 0 terms and see to that every pair of adjacent zeros are covered by a 0 term, and then use a two-level OR AND realization, then the circuit will be free from static 1, static 0 and dynamic hazards. Now, in order to clearly see how given a function, how the realization can be done, which is an hazard-free realization, I will go through an example which is given in the book Fundamental Law of Logic Design by Charles H. Routh, Volume 1, okay, in the section 26.2 as follows. First, we note that whenever a variable changes under the fundamental mode of operation, okay, there is a transient condition that occurs, certain variable changes. So the function Boolean function of the output variable that we normally derive is valid only for the steady state conditions. Under transient conditions, it is not valid, because under steady state conditions, logically we assume that x and x complement are always complement of each other. If one takes 0, another will take value 1, and that is how we normally assume. But under transient condition, that may not be true. So we have to define a new function called as the transient output function, which we denote it as ft. The only difference is we treat any variable xi and its complement xi to be independent variables, and we do not assume that they are complement of each other under transient conditions. As a result, when we apply certain Boolean algebraic theorems, okay, some of the theorems which you have already studied may not hold good under transient conditions. Those theorems, okay, which assume x and x complement or complement of each other, should not be used. So these are the Boolean theorems which are not valid under transient cases. So when deriving f transient, you should not use these theorems. For example, x and x complement equal to 0 may not hold good under transient cases. Okay. Similarly, x or x complement equal to 1 may not hold good under transient cases. So these two theorems cannot be used to reduce f transient. Similarly, x or x complement y equal to x plus y, this theorem also doesn't hold good. Whereas x plus xy equal to x into 1 plus y equal to x holds good. There is, see, whenever a variable and its complement occurs in a Boolean theorem, you have to be very careful. Otherwise, all other theorems hold good. Similarly, this is nothing but the consensus theorem. Xy or x bar z plus yz equal to xy plus x bar z. Okay, this also do not hold good, and that is why we introduce this consensus term to remove the hazard. The usual associative law, distributive law, De Morgan's law, as well as laws like xx equal to x, x plus xy equal to x, all can be used to reduce f transient. Okay, now let us look at a circuit and the corresponding f transient represent of this one. So here you have a circuit, okay, with three variables a, b, c, okay, and here is the output f. Let us look at the f transient of f. So this is nothing but f transient is nothing but a, b, c, that is this AND gate, and this is nothing but a or d, that is this one, and finally this is a complement or c complement, that is this one. And what we are doing is we are ANDing these two terms and we are ORing with the ABC. So ABC are this term. Okay. Now if you want to reduce this f, if you want to manipulate this f transient, you can do so, but all the time we should use only theorems which are valid under transient conditions. So here this distributive law holds good. So what we can write is, we can write this as ABC or a bar plus AC bar plus DA bar or A bar D plus C bar D. So this is how we can write it. Okay. But now a bar cannot be reduced to 0. Okay. This is one thing that you should note. Now to look for any static 0 hazard or 1 hazard, let's look at this f transient expression. Look at the term a bar. A bar logically is equal to 0, but it might temporarily take a value 1, and if it takes, it leads to a static 0 hazard. Okay. So a bar should be 0 but can take a value 1, so it can lead to a static 0 hazard. but the term A bar can never lead to a static 1 hazard. Okay, so the term A bar can momentarily go to 1 when A changes. However, this cannot cause a static 1 hazard. So such terms A bar or B bar or A bar B bar C, any term, product term in which a variable and its complement occurs along with some other literals, are those kind of terms, okay, which cannot cause static 1 hazards but can cause static 0 hazard. So we figure out that occurrence of any such terms can cause static 0 hazard. But now with that we go about looking for static 1 hazard, which we have to find out. Now we include all these things in the K-map of this F transient. Okay, first thing is, so this term ABC has to be included. So ABC, A is equal to 1, B is equal to 1 and C is equal to 1. This square corresponds to ABC. Now A bar, how do we include the coverage for A bar? It cannot be done because it is meaningless to have a square that corresponds to A bar. So A bar can never be mapped into this K map. Okay, so we do not do it. We infer that to detect the static 0 hazard we use it. For detecting static 1 hazard, such terms are not used in putting this K map. Then AC bar can be included. Okay, so we will see that this term corresponds to AC bar. This is AC bar, and if you look at this one, this corresponds to A bar D. Okay, and this term corresponds to C bar D, this one. So these are the terms that we have included. Now it is easy to see how when static 1 hazard can occur. That is, there are two ones which are adjacent ones which aren't covered by the same one term, so static 1 hazard can occur. Similarly, these two ones are adjacent ones which aren't covered by the same one term, static 1 hazard can occur. Similarly, this one and this one also have the same problem. Now to remove this, such conditions have to be removed. That is, if you introduce this term, it will remove two hazards. And similarly, if you have to cover these two things, either you can use this or you can have a larger square like this one, then both these hazards can be removed. Of course, this square will also take care of two hazards. Okay, but this hazard has to be removed. So two terms we effectively require. So this is how static 1 hazard can be removed and static 0 hazard can be figured out. There is also another way in which we can go about having 0 terms in the K-map and discover the static 0 hazards. Now look at this diagram carefully. We remember it. We will go to the next page and we will require it. We have this expression ABC plus A plus D plus A bar plus C bar. Okay. Now we will manipulate this using by factoring method and get an SOP expression for this, because SOP expression is needed to map the 0 terms. Okay, so how do we manipulate it? ABC plus A plus D and A bar plus C bar. We go to the next page. Okay, so what we do is we can do the factorization. ABC, there is a term A plus D and A bar plus C bar. You can apply a distributive property of R over and you will get ABC plus A plus D and ABC plus A bar plus C bar. So these two we get. Now if you look at it, okay, this one, if you look at this one, A plus ABC term is nothing but A, because A absorbs ABC. So this is nothing but A plus D, and here you can expand it. Again you can use the factoring. You can this R can be this is a whole R. This can be applied over this one. A plus A bar plus C bar is this term, and B plus A bar plus C bar is this term, and C plus A bar plus C bar is this term. So these are the different terms that we have got. Now these are the, this is in an SOP expression, but now we will look for putting these zero terms in an K-map and figuring out for the zero hazard. Again, what you have to note is that here you have got a term which is A or A bar plus C bar. This term cannot be put as a zero term, because similar to the way we are telling A bar cannot be represented as a one term, A plus A bar or A plus A bar plus C bar cannot be represented as a C term. Because if you look at this term A plus A bar, logically it has to remain at 1 all the time, but it can momentarily go to 0. Okay, so this is what we figure out. Similarly, if you look at it, this term also C plus C bar is there. This cannot be represented in the 0 as a 0 term. So these two terms cannot be represented as a 0 terms. So we are only left with these two terms which are to be included. Okay, so if you include these two terms, we can also apply Boolean theorems and manipulate and get F complement. But see to that you have to be careful in using the Boolean theorems which are valid. So you would get this K-map where there are two terms are there. So this term, this is nothing but you will see that A bar plus B plus C bar, and this is the one which is you will have A plus D. So this is the one. So you can see that again, if you look at it, there are two zero terms which are adjacent, which aren't covered by the same zero terms, that we have to cover it and modify the circuit accordingly, then it will be free from zero hazards. So there is finally we can summarize it by the way in which the hazard free circuit can be designed, which is given in this one. So determine the transient output function F transient, and you can reduce the F transient using some valid Boolean theorems and write the sum of product by treating each variable and its complement as the separate variables. Then map it into the K-map, examine each pair and check whether you have two ones which are adjacent, which are not covered by the same one term, cover them, and if you do that one, then if the sum of product terms of F transient does not contain the product of the variable and its complement, okay, supposing in F complement A bar is not present, then there is no zero hazards, that can be easily ruled out. Okay, then if we cover such that all adjacent one terms are covered by at least one term, then one hazard can also be removed. Similarly, if you write the POS expression for F complement, and there you don't find any term such as A plus A bar or B plus B bar plus C or something like that, then zero hazard cannot occur. Then include it in the K-map and see to that there are no adjacent zero terms which are not covered by a single, which are all adjacent zero terms have to be covered by at least one zero terms. Okay, so if that condition is obeyed, then zero hazards is removed. So this is how you can deduct hazards as well as remove hazards. Okay, with that I will conclude my lecture, and thank you.